The first three remember these are about a year old, but two of those situations have changed, so you're gonna hear about that in a second. Okay. Yeah, interesting stuff.
I'll let many of them.
Yes.
We're ready, thank you, sir. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the August 10th, 2021 hearing of the Town of Islip Zoning Board of Appeals. Start by reading the public notice. Notice is hereby given that due to the novel coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic and recent executive orders issued by the governor, Town of Islip Zoning Board of Appeals hearing scheduled for Tuesday. Will be held in person at Town Hall West, 401 Main Street, Islip, New York. Dated August 9th, 2021. John M. Lorenzo, Chairman. Mr. Chairman, our first application this evening is number 475-21. Anthony R. and Elizabeth Carotenuto and Lucille Lombardo to renew permit for two-family use only residence B district north side of Carnation Road number 331, 200 feet east of Palmanok Road, West Islip. Is there anyone here for the applicant? If there is, please step up to the podium. All right. When your application is called, please step up to the podium. Your name and address for the record, please.
Lucille Lombardo.
You have to pull that microphone down, I can't hear.
Lucille Lombardo, 331 Carnation Road, West Islip.
Great, how are you tonight?
Good, how are you?
You here to renew permit, two-family use only, because it's been renewed before.
Yes, we had a death in the family, right, since the last time it renewed?
Yes,
Okay, so can you explain the new living?
yes, well, my mom just passed away also in
Sorry.
April. They were living with me, I was taking care of them. And my father passed a couple of years ago, my mom just passed. In the meantime, my daughter, Tony Lombardo, got divorced last summer and came in the home to help me out with my mom. And since then, I've been having a little medical issues, which I have a doctor's note if you need to see it.
So yeah,
Your daughter will be living with you.
Yeah,
so the file will need your doctor's note? If you
yeah,
don't have it now, that's fine, just send it
I
to me.
do have it,
Okay, you want to pass it up?
sure.
Sir?
Thank you.
Okay. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any further questions? Mr. Wex, I'll take a motion.
Make a motion that we grant the application for a period of 3 years.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Application granted, see you in 3 years.
Thank you.
Next application is number 476-21, Maurice Kennedy, to renew permit for two-family use only residence B district southeast corner of Cottage Avenue, number 3, and South Bay Avenue, Bay Shore, New York. Name and address for the record, please, sir.
Maurice Kennedy, 3 Cottage Avenue, Bay Shore, New York.
Thank you.
Why tonight, sir? So you're here, renew permit, family use only, age is the criteria, your mom? is with you?
Yes, my mom's right here.
Okay. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Messina, I'll take a motion.
Mr. Chairman, move to grant for a period of 3 years.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Application granted, see you in 3 years.
Next application number 477-21, Grace Apicella Castro Novo, to renew permit for two-family use only, residence CAA District north side of Terry Boulevard, number 455, 619.97 feet west of Broadway Avenue, Holbrook, New York. Name and address for the record, please, ma'am.
My name is Gail Viviansky. I'm here with Anthony Castanova, 455 Terry Boulevard in Holbrook.
How are you today?
That's good. Thank you.
Good. Here to renew permit, family use only, age is the criteria, correct?
Yeah, so Anthony is Grace's husband.
Yes.
Grace has passed away.
Mhm. And she passed away, yes.
Anthony title, but the board has concern with that.
Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Messina, I'll take a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to grant the application for a period of 3 years.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Application granted.
Thank you, Mr. Green. Next
Thank you.
application number 478-21, Linden Hope, permission to leave shed having a side yard of 1.4 feet instead of the required 2 feet. Residence Double A District, south side of Castle Lane, number 14, 339 feet west of Aberdeen Road, Bayshore, New York. Name and address for the record, please, sir.
Linden High, 14 Castle Lane, Bayshore, New York.
I apologize for mispronouncing it.
You're right.
How are you tonight, sir?
Except for my left, I'm all right.
Your wife or your life?
My left,
Oh.
I'm all right except for my left.
It's the mask.
We're a little slow, we didn't have the call.
You're a lot slow.
So you have a shed is a little too close. We see these a lot. Call the minimus here. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Messina, I'll take a motion.
Chairman, I move to grant the application. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Application granted.
Great, thank you.
Good night.
Next application number 479-21, Gina and David Hurst Jr., permission to leave driveway having a side yard of 0.5 feet instead of the required 4 feet. Resident CW District, one side of Tar Drive, number 17, 277.5 feet east of Roseville Avenue, Ronkonkoma, New York. Name and address from sir.
Sure. Daniel Oz, 8 Avalon Court, Huntington Station, New York, 11746. I'm the architect of record and the representative for the owner, David and Gina Hurst.
Could you spell your last name?
Sure, it's Hawaes.
Thank you.
How are you tonight?
Good, how you doing?
So you have a driveway, you're seeking permission at 0.5 instead of 4.
Correct.
We see many of these also. It's a small portion of the westerly property line.
Correct, yep.
Seems to be an issue, in my opinion. We'll take a vote.
Okay, great.
Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Sullivan, I'll take a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to grant the application. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Application granted.
Great, thanks so much.
Next application number 480-21, Gerald G. Shanahan. Permission to erect roofed over porch, leaving a front yard of 29.6 feet instead of the required 40 feet. Residence Double A District, south side of Evergreen Avenue, number 14, 644.24 feet east of Eastern Avenue, Brentwood, New York. Name and address for the record, sir.
Gerald Shanahan, 14 Evergreen Avenue, Brentwood, New York, 11717.
How are you tonight, sir?
Pretty good.
So you have, you're erecting a roof over porch, 29.6 instead of 40. Did you for planning any objection?
No objections. There are precedent areas for front yards. Nothing as large as this one. I think the closest was a 30.4, but this is in line with this house.
Okay. Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Messina, I'll take a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we grant the application. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Grant, have a great night.
Okay, thank you.
Next application number 481-21, Emily Kathleen Kraft. Permission to leave semi-in-ground pool having a side yard of 13.4 feet instead of required 14 feet, and driveway having a side yard of 0.1 feet instead of the required 4 feet. Residence A District, west side of Overlook Drive, number 50, 620 feet north of Argyle Drive, East Islip, New York. Ma'am, name and address for the record, please.
Good evening, Emily Kraft, 50 Overland Drive, East Islip.
How are you tonight?
Doing well, how are you?
Great. So you have a pool that's a bit too close on the curvature of it, it seems to be from the survey.
Yes.
And a driveway a little too close, again, as I said in the last application, 2 applications ago, it's not that much of the northerly property line, just a small portion of it.
Correct.
Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Sullivan, I'll take a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to grant the application. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Application.
Thank you so much.
Next application number 011-21, Kevin O'Connell. Permission to leave detached garage 24 feet by 24 feet, having a rear yard of 5.1 feet, and side yard of 5.7 feet. Instead of the required 10 feet each, Residence B District, east side of Seville Boulevard, number 4, 750 feet south of McNeil Street, Sayville, New York. Name and address, please, for the record.
Hi, Kristen O'Connell, 43 Seville Boulevard, Seville.
How are you today?
Good.
So this application has been reactivated by our department due to a request from the building department. We denied this garage a couple months ago. And the applicant contacted zoning to find out how much of the garage they would have to remove to comply. The memo you're reading is from Dan Burgos of zoning, who did some research and checked the plans and found, unfortunately, that the plans were approved with dimensions of 24 by 24 only. They conflicted with the submitted plot plan, which showed 22 by 22. But nevertheless, the permit was issued, and the plans, which are in the file, were followed, the foundation was set, and the garage was built.
So there was construction undertaken in reliance on the permit, even though it was invalid. Technically.
Correct.
It was a substantial improvement to the property.
Question is whether or not rights vested once they put a shovel in the ground.
Sounds like
Then,
they
like
did.
you said, then it's substantial.
Is that the Orangetown versus McGee?
Oh, Mr. Wexler. Bring me back.
Our former chairman's neighbor. It could be a speeding case in each site.
So, in light of,
So it's a vested rights argument that they're making. The counter argument, of course, to it is that you never have vested rights on an invalid issue building permit.
That would bring up municipal stop.
Correct. And which was not recognized in this state many years. So,
But it is now, isn't it?
it is now in certain instances, that's correct. So it puts us in a little bit of a tricky situation. I guess we have to do justice.
I mean, theoretically, we could deny the application saying it was, you know what municipal estoppel is? I don't know, but I'm just making it. Municipal estoppel is, let's say you're home. Let's say somebody was in some sort of psychedelic dream, the planning or building department, and they allowed to build a fish smelting plant next to your house. Now, we know they wouldn't, let's say they did it, they approved it. The municipality, the town can say, no, that was wrong, take it back. The person who got said, no, look, you can never, no, the town can always redress a wrong. In this case, what happened was the town made a mistake and issued the building, and you built in conformance with the building permit.
Right.
The town, theoretically, we could say, no, the town was wrong and you don't get to keep it. You would then probably have a good lawsuit against the town saying they were lying. But we can avoid all that, I think, the direction the board wants to go.
anyone wishing to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Sullivan, I'll take a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to grant the application.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next application number 486-21, 2 Date Street LLC, permission lead portico having a front yard of 14.5 feet instead of the required 25 feet, roofed over cellar entrance having a rear yard of 17 feet instead of the required 25 feet, residential district southeast corner of Date Street, number 2, and Park Avenue, Central Islip, New York. Name and address, please, for the record.
Roxanne Challenge, Dynamic Expediting Services with office at 1040 Terry Road, Ronkonkoma, New York.
How are you today?
Thanks for having me.
And who's with you, Ms. Bell?
This is my daughter, Emma.
Thank goodness. Hello, Emma, welcome.
I had to wear my heels because she's taller than me.
Your mom does a very fine job. You should know.
Okay, so we're here to maintain a front portico and a rear cellar entrance. The front portico needs front yard relief because it requires 25 feet, but the house itself only holds 23. So it'd be kind of impossible for the roof over to comply with that requirement. And the cellar entrance is just covering strictly the cellar entrance. It does not protrude any further into the yard. And I have spoken to my client after a conversation with planning,
to agree to a condition of never to enclose should the board approve the application.
Deirdre from planning, any objection?
Just kind of, like she said, never to enclose is very close, they don't really have too much room to play with in the front yard. And the cellar, I know that's the setback of the adjacent.
Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Messina, I'll take a motion.
Chairman, I move to grant the application conditioned on the applicant never enclosing either area.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Have a great night. Take care.
Next application number 483-21, James H. and Kimberly H. Shaw, permission to leave a pool deck having a side yard of 5 feet instead of required 10 feet, patio inside property line, not having required setback of 4 feet. Residence being district north side of Foxglove Road, number 71, 113.2 feet west of Dogwood Road, West Islip. Ma'am, name and address for the record, please.
Kimberly Shaw, 71 Foxglove Road, West Islip.
How are you tonight?
Okay, how are you?
Deck a little too close, appears that they put a measure off the fence. Fence around the property line, public survey. We got a quick patio, smoker patio on the property line, partial property line view. Just to the side. Any objection from planning?
No objection.
Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Wexler, I'll take a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Application granted.
Thank you so much.
Great night.
Next application number 484-21, Mariola Velasquez and Anna Velasquez, permission to leave a driveway having a front yard occupancy of 42.4% instead of 35%. Residence B District, northwest corner of St. Peter's Drive, number 90, Crooked Hill Road, Brentwood, New York. Name and address for the record, please.
Mariola Velasquez and 90 St. Peter's Drive in Brentwood, New York.
How are you tonight?
I'm good, how are you, Mayor?
Please.
So you have a front yard occupancy a little bit too high. Code says 35%. We normally give it to 40 or 42.4%.
So may I just say, this all started when I wanted to get a permit for my adult Brentwood. I want to be in, legal with everything, and it has been, it's been a hard year, couple of years. So when I got my pool, I had to redo my whole fence because, it was not right for the pool, and then I did my survey, and then I fixed everything.
Those
So
pools
just-
cause big problems.
I know, but you know what? I want to be everything how it's supposed to
You want
be,
it to
and,
be legal.
Sure. I'm assuming, Deirdre from planning, there's no precedent in front yard occupancy in the area?
No precedent, but again, this is a corner lot, so if you keep an actual front yard, it's probably well under 40%. Probably.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
You're on a corner lot, so if this was an actual front yard, your FAR would be lower in the calculation.
If you weren't on one lot.
If you were not
It would be what?
lower, so you'd be okay.
You may still be okay.
You may still- Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Messina, I'll take it.
Chairman, I make a motion to grant the application.
Thank
All
you
in
so
favor?
much. Thank you.
Application granted.
Bless.
Look at that. Next application, number 485-21, Jason and Pamela Shipman. Permission to leave a pool deck having a rear yard of 14.2 feet instead of the required 25 feet, and leave a deck having a side yard of 1.5 feet instead of the required 4 feet. Resident Beach District, east side of Chicago, Port number 15, 282 feet northeast of Chicago Avenue, Bay Shore, New York. Sir, name and address for the record, please.
Jason Shepard, 15 Chicago Board, Bay Shore, New York.
How are you tonight, sir?
Good, how you doing?
And who's with you, sir?
My son Jacob.
There you go. Now you're in the records.
So you have a pool deck, 14.2 instead of 25, and a deck have a side of 1.5 instead of 4.
How high is that pool deck?
The pool deck is 48 inches. It's 48 inches roughly.
probably just over.
Just even.
And that's why the setback is that of the house.
So, you said it's just a 40.
If it were 48 inches or less, it would only need 10th of the rear yard. Right.
I don't have the exact measurement on these.
What a difference in inch makes. Huh?
Yeah, it could be less, yeah.
Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Messina.
Motion to grant, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Application granted.
Next application, number 486-21, Wellington J. Chica, permission to leave gazebo having 14.8 feet behind the front yard line of dwelling instead of the required 20 feet. Pool patios on side and rear property lines instead of required 6 feet each. Rear landscaping of 17.58% instead of the required 40%. And to leave a roof over second story deck resulting in floor area ratio of 26% instead of permitted 25%. Residence A District, west side of Mayflower Avenue, number 478, 100 feet north of Beach Street, Brentwood, New York. Is there anyone here for the applicant? Mr. Chairman, there being no one here, I'd ask that this be heard second call, and then we have our next set of items at 6:30, and it is only 6:24.
So we have to wait because it was, it's not 6:30 yet. It was advertised for 6:30. We have to wait until 6:30 comes to hold next application.
So we will do that fine.
I know.
Yes, sir.
You weren't just granted. Everybody's got something to say. Yeah. All right, Chris is not coming there. You know what, I'll tell you. The workshop. Yeah. Yes. And he's got, Chris is here, and Chris is on. Okay, so. Thank you, yes, I'm Chris. Gatos is yes, so we ended up having Sears. I don't know.
Yeah, I know.
But he's not gonna do it. Yeah, and I went You had plans? So. But I don't see anybody waiting to.
Mr. Chairman, start our 6:30 portion of the meeting. I believe there has been
Request to withdraw.
on the application 458-21, John and Miriam Doramus. Is anyone here on that application? All right. Mr. Chairman, I make a move that we accept the request.
Second. All in favor? Application withdrawn.
Thank you, sir. Next application, number 487-21, Charles Harkless and Aileen Heffernan. Permission to elevate a dwelling and decking, leaving a front yard of 24.58 feet instead of required 25 feet. Deck leaving side yards of 6.3 feet, 6.6 feet, and rear yard of 17.25 feet instead of the required 15 feet each. Front yard of 20.58 feet instead of the required 25 feet. To erect a 5-foot wide entrance decking with stairs on the property line and side yard of 12 feet instead of the required 15 feet each, resulting in a floor area ratio of 58.4% instead of the permitted 30% residence AAA-B district, west side of Monte Cristo Walk, 54, 120 feet south of Midway Walk, Atlantic, New York. Is there anyone here for the applicant? Please step up, name and address for the record.
Hi, Lisa Thornburg, representing the owners, PO Box 743, Ocean Beach, 1970.
How are you today? How are you today?
I'm fine, thanks.
You can't hear us either, right? We can't hear you.
You can't hear me?
You can pull it
Speak into the microphone.
We got this great acoustic in here.
6:32.
How are you today?
So I'm fine, thank you. So, basically, the owners are just desiring to raise their house, to elevate their house to the FEMA height. And the, you know, they have an existing first floor deck, which would also get lifted with the house. And they would like to do a staircase, an exterior stair up to the house that's a little over the 4 foot allowed width.
They just lift the existing dwelling in place?
What?
They just lift the
Yes.
existing dwelling in place?
Yes.
What is the current FAR? Is it going to be the same FAR?
So the problem with it is that when you lift, like currently, the lower deck, the first floor deck is not included in the FAR because it was low enough not to be counted. So when they lift it, it has to be counted.
So, but for that, your FAR is the same?
And then the 5 foot staircase would also have to be counted.
But for that, is your FAR the
Yes.
same?
Okay. The deck is going to remain the same size?
Yes.
It's just counted because it's raised?
Yes.
Thank you.
Deidre, any objection from planning?
Does the entrance deck need to be the 5 feet? The entrance deck that you're adding, does that need to be 5 feet?
You know, it's such a large staircase, and to get things up and down it, like they had to move a piece of furniture or something, a 4 foot staircase is very narrow for such a long.
It's just, if it was 4 feet, it wouldn't count towards the FAR, so it would bring it down a little bit more, because it would be such a large.
But what do other people do who have a 4 foot staircase? Don't they have to get furniture up and
So
down?
a lot of people-
Hang on, let me finish. Also. I'll finish. I wanted to get out the subject.
I didn't get the question.
Don't other people who have 4 foot wide staircases have the same problem of moving grand pianos and such?
Yes, and, but there are some, there are variances that were given for larger staircases
I know,
also.
but that begs the question, what are the people who have the standard?
Okay, so can I help with this just a little bit
Can I
from a
just take-
historical perspective?
I just see if I can.
Oh,
answer
okay,
first.
sure, I just don't want you to go the wrong direction.
No, I
Yeah,
promise I won't
obviously,
go.
obviously they would have the problem. If they have the 4 foot staircase.
I'm just saying everybody else can get by with the standard, why do they need it wider?
You know, it's just the entrance to a house and a 4 foot staircase when it's that high up. It's just
Okay.
not very welcoming, not very nice.
So the exclusion for 4 feet historically on Fire Island, and maybe you can help with this since you've been working there and living there for so many years. The exclusion for 4 feet was to allow someone to be able to walk around their property and access their house, presumably at grade, with only 4 feet. Now, as we're observing with homes going in the air, we're looking at much more involved access points to the houses. So it's the 4 foot exclusion has been around for 50 years, and it's questionable whether it should be changed to 5.
And that is the requirement.
Correct.
Yeah, so, right, I mean, it's possible for them to get up to the house with a 4 foot stair, of course. But it's, you know, when 2 people are passing on a 4 foot stair, it's tight.
Isn't your best argument really that to accomplish the purpose of the ordinance, because now of, as Mr. Sarah said, the lift, that the same result is obtained with a 5 foot staircase as was previously obtained with a 4 foot staircase when the house was built. Right?
Right.
Okay.
Does anyone wish to hear this application?
I just want to thank Mary for the clarification. I was headed in a totally wrong direction.
Come on up, name and address for the record, please. Can you just move over so they can be heard? Appreciate it.
Hello everyone, my name is Natasha Kavanagh. I live at Kavanagh. I live at 4 Monte Cristo Walk, Atlantique, in Fire Island, and I have had a house out there for about 40 years, and was actually out there right after Hurricane Sandy, and saw the devastating damage to this particular house. And John, what I'd like to do is, if you haven't seen these photos, I'd like to show them to you. They were included in a letter that I sent to Mary Pissarro, but I think the evidence is really quite compelling that this is the house in question at 54 Monte Cristo Walk.
Oh, I'm just curious, we understand the house was damaged.
Yes.
Is that the point that you're?
Yes, the
Okay.
point is that I'm here to support the
Okay.
application.
Got it, thank you.
And I understand that the applicants are making this application in order to protect their house from the damage. And many other houses have been raised, and many owners are soon going to be asking to raise their house because there's going to be changes to the FEMA NFIP law in October, where they have new legislation evaluating risk. So you may have many more people in front of you out in Fire Island wanting to raise their houses.
We welcome the customers.
And
So you're in support of this application?
I am in support, but I have a point that I want to make, which is that the application have had to increase their FAR to 58.4%. And I'm very concerned that this sets an unfortunate precedent against where the regular FAR would be 30%.
Well,
I understand why they want to do it, but it sets a precedent that people can then enlarge houses, and there is an application before the board right now, and it's...
Well, wait, hold that thought one second. Why don't we find out where does 54 point, let's just find out if there's any precedent.
There's not any precedent. I think the closest might be around 41.4%, and most of them seem to be around 37 and 36.
Right,
There was an application that came to the board earlier this year that got adjourned, and I believe they were asking for 42%.
Right, but doesn't the fact that now all of these houses have been relifted, have been really argue to changing the code to reflect the current reality and keep the same proportion in place?
Oh, no, that's,
Right?
I was just asking the question about the 5 foot.
No, I'm asking you a question.
But I think that's true, that they will have to be raising them higher and higher, and that the decks will have to be higher and higher.
Right.
So I
So
don't
it's
think
not a
that
precedent to be afraid of, right?
No, but I would just like there to be kind of a clarification that they're raising the existing house, which in itself is underneath the required FAR. They're just raising it up. They're not adding on like more additions or anything like that. So
No, we understood that.
something like that to be added. I have no objection.
The existing FAR was granted by this board actually at 41.9%, correct?
Yeah.
In 16. So, you know, when we write our decisions, as you probably know, if someone else comes in and says, I want 58.4, we're going to look at it and say, and they say, we have this precedent of this address, we're going to look at it and say, why did we give them this? And the reason is, because they lifted it straight up, and the decking actually now is bringing it up to that.
So we can note in our decision, in fact, Mr. Chairman, that the only reason we would consider it FAR this high is because nothing was physically changing except for the height of the structure.
We have this wonderful joint
Absolutely. If, no, it's really that there is no site expansion, there are no additions, it's the identical house. And
We understand that.
And I just am very pleased that it will go into the record that it is to do with FEMA regulations. And my concern is that there are other CBAs that are being raised for other reasons of wanting to expand.
Everything gets judged on its own merit.
Yeah. Okay.
Now it's
So
in the record.
thank you very
You
much.
put it in the record.
Appreciate it.
Thank
Have a
you.
great night, thank you.
We have one more.
Sure. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. My name is Jay Van Cott. I have a house at 26 Seabreeze Walk in Atlantic.
Could you just spell your last name, please?
Sure. VANCOTT. I'm also the president of the Atlantic Property Owners Association. There's only 50 of us, so it's not so impressive.
Our condolences. Public services.
I'd just like to say I'm pleased to hear that there is a distinction between a house just going straight up with no other changes and a house that's looking to blow out the walls. And I would also remind you that in the past, you had similar needs to modify your code, as somebody mentioned before, when people started asking to elevate their houses and their roof was going to be crushed down. And so finally, you changed the way you measured that from the ground to the bottom of the FEMA standard. This is kind of a similar situation. We're looking for a new FEMA standard. People are trying to get up to that so their house is protected. I think you're going to find more of these houses, as Natasha said. The flood insurance program is going to be coming up with some big hits, I think, if you're not at those levels. We've been talking about it for a few since Sandy. We've managed to dodge the bullet so far, but it's coming. So I just wanted to add my voice to what Natasha had to say, to make that distinction so that future houses who are just looking to blow out the walls don't get this advantage of 58% as a precedent in the community.
Great, appreciate your time.
That's it for me, thank you.
Thanks, have a great night.
You too.
Anyone else wishing to hear this application?
Any other questions for me?
I don't think we do.
Just for the record, we have a letter, we were delivered a letter of support from your neighbor, Lark Schlinbaum, today.
Does the board have any further questions? Mr. Bex, I'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion that we grant the application.
Second, all in favor? Aye. Application granted.
Next application, number 488-21, Daniel Lanzalotti.
I'm sorry, is this going to be on YouTube? Are you doing those meetings to save on YouTube?
It's going to be
It
on.
will, and also the decision will reflect some of what you heard here.
Perfect, thank you.
Good evening, everyone.
I haven't.
We have to wait, we have to wait first. Hold on one second.
Just want to make sure no one else wants to speak. Permission to expand non-conforming use by less than 25% by leaving a second-story addition 15.9 feet by 16 feet, and to leave driveway on side property lines, not having a part setback of 4 feet, having front yard occupancy of 100% instead of permitted 35%. Industrial 1 District, east side of North Clinton Avenue, number 89, 109.39 feet south of Ackerson Street, Bay Shore, New York. Sir, that's your chance. Name and address.
How are you? My name's Dan Lanzalotti. I live at 320 Chestnut Drive in Roslyn. In regards to this property, this was a blighted property that we had bought. There was a couple, well, obviously, it was a mess, but there was an existing, what we thought was a dormer. It really appeared to be one. It constituted a third bedroom on the second floor, and it needed an emergency repair. So we went and repaired it, and when we put it back a little higher than it was. So, but we do, and it wasn't considered part of the, as we find out, it wasn't considered part of the property within the square footage. The FAR at 0.25 allows us to actually incorporate that into the structure. There is, by doing what we did, we didn't add any square footage to the property. As far as all that other stuff that goes with the front yard parking, I'm flexible on that because we have plenty of space. It's a very unaesthetic property, actually. It's on next door to a plumbing company and next door to an empty lot, and the reason I say that is that you'll see me back here. We are going to look for a variance and try to add some space to it and extend that FAR. I mean, a block and a half from there. This is housing for those who are not going to be paying $4,000 a month for the 2-bedroom apartments that are 2 blocks away.
What about the 100%? I don't think I've ever seen that.
What's that?
Yeah, and I heard Mr. Messina, our vice chairman's enunciation. I think it went like 100%.
I just wanted to stress it.
We allow 40.
Listen, all I know is I bought it, there was a paved front yard, and it's 4 spots.
But you can change that.
Yeah.
I can change that. I'm happy to take that pavement up and make a pretty front yard. No problem doing that because there's plenty of parking in the back.
That's
It's
the right
a very
answer.
sizable lot. I'm gonna be happy to do that, please. Very good.
You're ahead of the game.
Now, how many spots do you want? How much can I say?
Sir, hang on. There's a lot of things we have to discuss.
So the property is zoned industrial 1, so you have a legal non-conforming use in that no houses at all are permitted in industrial zoning. But the CO says that you have a non-conforming one-family dwelling.
That's correct.
So when you say you're coming back for an additional variance, you're not actually really getting a variance right now. You're asking for original.
Yeah, I'm just completing what I'm allowed to do, as it turns out with this.
Right, but then aren't you going to be at your 25% maximum?
I will be.
So how are you coming back?
I'm going to give you an argument that I think is compelling to make you understand that it's for a good use, that it's going to be providing some extra housing for some people who are not as well heeled as the people who are walking half away. And those FARs got work .25 where they're building the.
That's not an FAR. What we're talking about is you're expanding a non-conforming use. The code only allows you to do that by 25%. Okay?
25% over what is existing.
Over what the non-conforming use was. Whatever that was, whenever it was established. Okay, well, no, it is. It absolutely is the call of the meeting.
No, but he's talking about.
Well, but my point is, if you're gonna come back anyway, I think you're better off having everything, it's just my opinion, having everything heard at once instead of doing it piecemeal, but it's up to you.
Well, this is a totally separate issue. I mean, you could decline the other, I mean, this is already done. I mean, this is completed, this is done, this can stand on its own. As of right, we're allowed to.
As of right, you have nothing, except for a non-conforming use, that's all you have.
All right, but that is a use.
So, here's the thing, is this application tonight, is this gonna expand your non-conforming use by 25%, or is it gonna be less than 20?
Way less.
How much less?
It's actually not expanding anything that wasn't there already.
Well, you raised part of that house.
Well, there was an issue as to whether, that.
Sure, there's a picture right here.
Yeah,
of the old
I
house.
raised
And
one.
there's this.
Right, now, the question was that a dormer that was there already? It appeared to be a third bedroom
It
upstairs.
does not matter. The fact is that you.
Well, we're not ready, we didn't extend more than 25%.
Okay, that's a good answer.
There's your answer. We did not. It falls within
And you,
what.
for the front yard occupancy, you're gonna
comply.
You're gonna comply to.
Yes,
to-
yeah.
40%.
And I'll take care of that.
So we give up to 40%, the code's 35, so you have to comply to 40%. However you get there. Front yard occupancy has to be 40%. All right?
Okay.
Does anyone wish to be heard in this application?
Now, in terms of the parking, what, in the front?
You just have to be at 40%, and if you want to contact planning and find out how to get there,
Okay, good.
that's where you're.
All right, thanks a lot.
Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Messina, I'll take a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we deny that portion of the application which seeks front yard occupancy of 100% instead of the permitting 35%. Grant front yard occupancy of 40% instead of permitted 35%, and grant the balance of the application.
Second. All in favor?
Great, thank you.
Have a good night.
Appreciate it.
Next application, number 431-21, adjourned from July 20th, 2021. Charles H. and Adele Spencer. Permission to erect a one-story addition 9.7 feet by 28.3 feet, leaving a side yard having 8 feet instead of the required 14 feet. To erect a second-story addition, two-story addition, a one-story addition, and a roof over porch, all having a floor area ratio of 32% instead of the permitted 25%. And to install driveway, leaving front yard occupancy of 39% instead of permitted 35% residence in district, east side of Davidson Lane, number 51, 623.37 feet south of Lagoon Road, West Islip, New York. Name and address for the record, please, ma'am.
Jennifer Spencer of Counsel to the Law Office of Laura Spencer Brennan, PC, 181 West Main Street, Suite 103, Babylon, New York, 11702. All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board. I'm here tonight along with architect David Bush, representing the homeowners Charles and Adele Spencer.
Oh, could you slow down? We can't get the transcript if you speak
Sure.
quickly. Everybody always reads quickly. I don't know why.
I'm here
I think
tonight.
when they're in elementary school, they get brownie points for reading quickly. So just slow down.
I'm here tonight with the architect David Bush, representing the homeowners Charles and Adele Spencer. The subject property is located at 51 Davison Lane East, West Islip, New York, and is zoned Residence N. It should be noted that the hearing was adjourned from July 20th, and since that time, the homeowners have substantially revised their plans to reduce the variances and the relief they're seeking from this board. And actually, having said that, while we were going through the plans, it should be noted that we discovered a variance that we believe should be included in this request. And that is a total side yard variance from 25 permitted to 28 requested or proposed. And if the board agrees with me, I'd like to make an amendment to this application to add the total side yard variance.
It's not in the call of the calendar, and you're asking for more that's in the call, correct?
Well, what's in the call of the calendar is not what the application is tonight, because like I had mentioned, this applicant revised the variances.
But we have to follow the call. If somebody wants to decrease what's in the call, that's okay, but to increase it, it creates a problem because somebody who could potentially object would not have objected at 25, but will object at 28.
Okay, well, we did provide a cover letter to the zoning board that went on these revised plans that noted this, what we believe is an omission by the town,
But
but.
that's not noticed to the public. Right. And we were just talking about municipal stop.
Okay, well, I just want to make sure that it's correct, that this is in fact an omission by the town. And
That you'd have to discuss with the building department. They're the ones who deny your permit application, and that's what gives us jurisdiction. So really, that has to go back to the building department. If you wanted an adjournment for that purpose, I don't think we would object to that if you wanted to clarify it. And then if we need to.
this is, I understand what you're saying, but we're here tonight based on the board's, well, what I'm saying is we're here tonight based on the board's, adjournment to revise our plans, and that's what we're coming here today with, and we just wanted to point that out to the
But they
board.
were revised, and you asked for more. We have their become.
I'm not asking for more.
Wait. That's what I originally asked you, is your ask more than what's in the call of the calendar?
I'm simply pointing out an
No,
omission.
please answer my question. Don't point out anything to me. I'll ask it the third time. It's not complicated. Is your ask greater than what's in the calendar? It is or it isn't? It's yes or no?
Is my ask, what are you referring to?
The relief you're requesting is greater than that in the.
There is a side yard in the public
So it
notice.
is. Just say yes.
Yes.
Okay, I don't think the board can hear it tonight. I know it may be a pain in the neck.
We can hear, but they're not gonna get that variance relief.
Okay.
And, that's the way it goes.
Did
That's
you
their
hear what
choice.
hang on a second, you were distracted, which is okay, you were speaking New York. Did you hear what our vice chairman just said? You can go forward, but you're not going to get that relief you seek, because we can't grant it. But if you want to go forward, we can. That's why Mr. Messina, who knows a lot about this stuff, said, why don't you request an adjournment and get it straightened out? I know it's cumbersome and a pain in the neck, but I'm telling you, we can't go forward.
Okay. May I try to offer some clarity and just see if it is possible to go forward?
Sure.
Thank you. David Bush, registered architect, 90 West Main Street, Bay Shore, New York. Thank you again for hearing us tonight and the adjournment. Right to the point, the call that was read tonight was not revised in the prior adjourned hearing. The reason for that, we had delved into planning department with Deidre Ryan for FOIL and overlap with Mary Gazal. We collected precedent to reform the application.
Granted, let's say it was reformed. It's not a question of fault.
Okay.
It's not a question of ill intent. If the relief you seek is greater than what's in the call, we can't opine on that.
So the relief that we seek is directly related to the call.
But if it's greater than what, I don't know what.
So
Look, you're free to go forward, sir, okay? And even if the application is granted, you may or may not have the relief you need to get a building permit. That risk is on you, the choice is yours.
Thank you. Listen to him. I tried.
Go either way, it doesn't matter to us, we're here, we'll hear your application. But if you come back, then you say, oh, I didn't have everything I need and I can't get a permit when I go to the building department, then you're gonna come back here and you're gonna wait several more months. Because you're just getting the queue, okay? So the choice is yours, however you wanna do it, we're here, we're ready to do whatever you wish.
Okay, I would like to just, I would just like to clarify what that request.
We've already clarified.
Yeah, we're just trying to save you aggravation, but
But it's your choice.
go ahead.
I mean, the town calls the variances, so we're just pointing out an omission that we
It's
believe
not
is
a
an
question
omission.
of fault. Didn't I say that before? We're not, it's my fault, okay? Let's establish.
I mean,
Wait, it's my fault. It's still going to be your burden. It's going to be your problem. Doesn't matter, it's not.
I mean, perhaps the
generated.
town doesn't agree with me. And
Well,
that's
that's
why
up to the
it's never
building
in.
department though, not us. We don't issue building permits, we only grant variances or denies.
So was the revised plans reviewed by the building department
You know
before the
what?
meeting tonight?
Okay, so you know what? Go ahead, make your application. Let's
I
go.
just
No,
have
let's
a-
go, make your application.
I just have a question.
We received them at 12:08 this afternoon.
Okay, so that,
No, ma'am, you gotta stop. Make your presentation or ask for an adjournment.
I'm
Either or,
just-
no,
I'm
don't,
just-
we're not here to be questioned on procedure. It's gone on long enough. Please proceed. We're ready.
I mean, at this time, that's really not, I can't proceed without having the information. I don't know if these
That's
plans
not our
went through.
job to supply that information.
So you're on the zoning board and you can't tell me if the
All right,
building
look,
department.
here's the thing. Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion that the application be, if council does not want to put on a presentation, the application be denied with prejudice.
I'll second.
I'm sorry, that's outrageous.
Okay, there's something called an Article 78. You can proceed in Supreme Court.
So call the meeting, I think what they're trying to say is with the side yard of 8 feet and the next side yard of 4 feet, the required combined side yards for this area needs to be 20 feet. So if to call the meeting, it should also read with a total combined side yard of 22. What they're proposing, they're changing it, just from what I've read from the email, they're now, instead of requesting a side yard of 22, to a side yard of 25. But either way, they're both not included in the.
So how can we go forward?
That's-
I understand, I understand exactly.
Yeah.
I
So
I
I would
believe,
just like to,
hold on a second, please. I believe it's in your best interest because they're taking a trip. Take care of it the right way, and then come on back. That's awesome. You guys want to take that or not? Would you like to proceed?
absolutely, I would
So
request
we'll
an
put
adjournment.
you, so request for adjournment next date,
Well, now we're gonna have zoning right to denial. Right?
I'm sorry?
Now we're going to have zoning right to denial.
Yes, we're gonna go back to zoning for a new denial, revised denial.
so an open adjournment, or are you going to say, how long do you need?
How fast do you think you can get zoning to revise their denial?
Yeah, I'll speak to Teresa, who replaced Aldo, tomorrow.
Teresa didn't replace that.
No
Well,
one's
I'm sorry,
gonna
I'm
replace
sorry.
Aldo.
You're absolutely right, 30 years, but
And I think Teresa did not include total side yards because she believed total side yards were not required.
correct.
As I discussed with you last
Correct,
week.
and that's exactly, and that's what I was gonna try to clarify, which was verbally discussed. But we'll go for the adjournment, and we'll ask her to clarify in writing.
That ship has left the harbor.
Right.
What date is good?
We have a meeting on August 31st.
I don't see any problem.
Okay, so make an adjournment, make motion to adjourn to August 31st. Second. All in favor?
And see, what we did is really not that outrageous. It was to help your client. Thank you.
Next application, number 489-21, Michael and Suma Lee Signy. Permission to install pool patio, leaving side yards of 4 feet instead of the required 6 feet each, and rear yard landscaping of 30% instead of the required 40%. Residence AA district, east side of New Street, number 186.1 feet north of River Road, Great River, New York. Is there anyone here for the applicant? Name and address for the record, please, ma'am, when you get to the podium.
Hi, my name is Sumali Sigmund.
I live at number 1 New Street, Red River, New York, 11739. I'm here tonight to ask for permission to erect a side yard patio and then replace with a new one because the old patios maybe had like half pavers and half roofs. And the wood was rotted and, you know, I had last winter, I have 2 young children that, you know, it's not safe for them and I want to just replace with a new one.
So you're replacing the pad that's there now, it's got a side yard of 4 instead of 6.
Yes.
Which I don't believe is much of an issue. You pavers, right? Is that what you're
Yeah, it's like half paver and half wood.
No, were you replacing all of it?
Yeah, all the paver.
Okay. And you have a rear yard landscaping at 30% instead of required 40.
Yes, I think just replacing, you know, I don't think there will be any change, but that's 30% that I had left, I guess.
Skeeter from planning, any questions for? No objections on it? Anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Next, I'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion that we grant the application.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Application granted.
We announced it before, but again, in case anyone came in, the application of John and Miriam Dorgas has been withdrawn at this time. So if anyone's here for that, you need not wait around. Next application number 490-21, Scottoline and Lauren Burnett Scottoline, John Scottoline, excuse me, and Lauren Burnett Scottoline. Permission to erect a second-story addition, 12.7 feet by 27.6 feet, leaving a side yard of 9.6 feet instead of the required 14 feet, and a front yard of 22 feet instead of the required 25 feet, and to erect a roof-over entrance, leaving a front yard of 19.4 feet instead of permitting encroachment setback of 20 feet, Residence B District, south side of the lane, driving 375 feet west of Johnson Avenue, Sayville, New York. Sir, name and address for the record, please.
Good evening, Michael Sedano, 90 Senex Avenue, Santa Mauritius.
How are you tonight?
Sudano. Good evening, my client here is looking to put a second story above the existing garage and convert the existing garage into habitable space. He's seeking a side yard setback of 9.6 feet instead of the required 14 feet, and also a front yard setback relaxation of 22.9 instead of required 25 feet. He's also looking to put a covered portico on the house. The front yard setback to the portico would be 19.4 instead of the permitted 20 feet. I have letters from adjoining neighbors that are in support of it, and also pictures of neighboring properties.
The household's 9.6 now, correct? It's not yet?
Correct, we're not going any closer.
You're not
Maintaining it.
Straight up, right?
Straight up. Only out in the front going with the bay window.
Good.
That we're on the summer.
We're on.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Any objection from planning?
No objections to the precedent side yard and front.
Great, does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any questions? Mr. Sullivan, I'll take a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to grant the application. Second.
All in favor? Application granted.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Chairman, the next application is number 491-21. Neverland Tadiu, permission to erect a two-story dwelling on a lot having a lot width of 60 feet instead of the required 75 feet, Residence B District, east side of Sunset Road, number 0, 260 feet north of Cooper Lane, Bay Shore, New York. Is there anyone here for the applicant? Name and address for the record, please.
May I take this down?
Please.
Thank you. Christine Fay, active expediting 286A, Belleville Avenue, West Babylon, New York.
How are you doing? Good?
I'm doing okay.
Good.
So, good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Mrs. Tardell is here tonight to request a variance on the width of the lot for 60 feet instead of 75 feet. Upon visiting the site, doing some research, talking to neighbors, submitting the chain of title, looking at the zoning map, which I just submitted a copy of, it seems like a request to construct a two-story, one-family dwelling is not substantial for this neighborhood. As a matter of fact, in the 500-foot radius, there are over 40 60-foot lots and one 52-foot wide lot that have houses on them. I've highlighted them as well as the subject property on that
I'm
map.
sorry, I didn't, there are 40 60 footers?
There are 40 60-foot lots and one 52-foot wide lot that have houses on them in that 500-foot radius.
And how many, as our Chairman Emeritus likes to say, are there in the five, how many total lots?
It's about 50% that in the 500-foot that the 60-foot lots are. And Mrs. Tardo feels her request is in keeping with the nature and character of the neighborhood. Although some neighbors probably would not like the idea of this lot being built on, we feel that that's just a matter of personal opinions. We would be keeping with the setbacks for a B zone and have proposed a 2-story single-family dwelling with no basement. Mrs. Tardo purchased the property last year with intent to build a house
Who
on
did you
it.
purchase it from?
Who did she purchase it from? I actually don't know.
Did it come from the county side?
I don't know. Yes? Oh, somebody's saying yes, the Tardo. Are you Mrs. Tardo? No.
We have the deed, helpful.
Okay.
And
So-
let me ask you something, this application, this parcel has been the subject of prior zoning board decisions, has it not?
Yes, it has. I have records here. Back in 1976, there was a case that the board denied. They were creating a 60-foot lot, saying most of the homes that were existing, pre-existed an ordinance. It was reserved and then denied. In 1985, there was a case before the board which was reserved and denied as well because the lot was involved with some kind of subdividing. Here we are 44 years later with much more precedent set and an owner who did not know about the history of this property until they consulted with me for a building permit.
Well,
So-
except that's on the owner, I mean, you investigate
Right.
before you buy, not after.
Here we are, you
And
know.
secondly, you say that the change in circumstances really that there have been more 60 lots either granted or developed, right?
Yes.
Can you tell us which ones?
So if you look at the map, it's all in front of you.
I see it up on the screen.
No, actually, I submitted the.
Oh, I see, you put it on, you marked them?
Yes, I marked it clearly for you.
No, that's fine, thank you.
So with all due respect to the board of 1976 and 1985, we're here in 2021 with time changing and 60-foot lots being improved on. This is the only lot that has not been improved on in the
But
area.
I was waiting for the answer to Mr. Messina's question.
What was the question?
I listened. He asked you, you said there were, your words, my thoughts, there were a number of 60-footers built since those last denials. He
Okay.
said,
Want the
fine,
answer?
which ones and when?
Okay, ready?
Is that correct, Mr.
That is absolutely correct.
Okay, so spoke with Deirdre, and we have email here. Deirdre, could you help me out on the dates? I do have it here.
No lifelines.
Okay, all right, so then if you bear with me, I have it right here.
All right, give her a lifeline.
No, don't.
Oh, that's
No, it's
I
fine.
want to prove that I have it.
Now it's
We're
Brian
sure
getting
you
into
do
it.
I have it. Okay. Deirdre, where's that email? It's here.
DJ, would you help her, please? Help us.
2001, was it? Wait, here it is. Okay.
So
So
2001.
in 1982 and in 2002, and then a grant in 2001, the condition that the site get engineering approval.
So 1982, we granted a 60-foot with conditions. In 2001, we granted a 60 without conditions. Is that correct?
2001 with the condition of the site get engineering approval, which we would normally do.
And then also the third in 2002, we granted a 60-foot.
1982, 2002, and 2001.
Okay, those were all 60-footers.
Those are all 60-foot lots.
Okay.
So that's 3 lots in 100 and, in the radius, right?
In the radius, I don't know how many are
Right.
there. There's
You
about
said 50%.
80.
Now, when you say, just so I know, when you say 50%, is that literally 50% or is that an estimate? I think it's about 50%.
Well, if I count every single lot, and I tried to do it without screwing myself up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, there's about 80-something lots there, 41 are 60-foot lots.
Okay, that's as close to 50% as we're willing to consider.
Did you any objection?
There's a lot of specific lots, like you said. Just to clarify, the 182 and 01 are both subdivisions, so technically there's 5 lots that are granted at 60 foot.
It's still created, granted, same thing.
Does anyone wish to be heard in this application?
Yeah.
Come on up, name and address for the record, please.
One at a time?
One at a time. Well, you can walk them up. One at a time. Only one can speak.
Hi,
How are you?
I'm
Name
good.
and address for the record, please.
Patty Chessman, 56 Seafield Lane.
Could you spell your last name?
Chessman.
Anything.
So, I know that they are discussing, these have been denied twice. She already went over that, so I'm sure you're aware of the ordinances and the reason why they denied them. But I wanted to go back to, she said there were 2 houses since then that were approved, 2001 and 2002, on Seafield Lane, not on Sunset, which is different. And that was due to a fire. So it's my understanding that a fire or rebuild is different than just a normal subdivision, that there's a reason for.
Let me just ask, following up on that. So in both instances of 102, there was a fire?
I'm not sure what happened in 2001 or 2002, but there was an application and they subdivided a single and separate. There really was no need for a subdivision because they were already owned separately. But there was one house and then there was a lot owned by a family, husband and wife owned each lot. He died in a fire and they had to tear down.
He died in the fire?
He died in the fire on Sunset. So they had to rebuild. They had to tear the whole lot down and rebuild. So they allowed 2 houses to be built, 55 and 55A on Seafield Lane, which is much different from Sunset because in your.
But we use a 500-foot radius, so if it's within the 500 foot, those are.
That's
I have a
the.
quick question though.
Yeah.
You keep saying it's much different than Sunset. You're right.
Well, because there are a lot of homes that were 60-foot lots, homes that were built in 1929. So they had in your argument, and this is very small print, so excuse me, it just says that the board finds no merit in this.
Slow down.
Okay. The board finds no merit in this application that it did in 1977. To squeeze a house on a 60-foot lot in this area would adversely affect surrounding property values and in the spirit and intent of the zoning ordinance. One should mention that on Sunset, excuse me, sorry, Sunset Road on the east side of the street, one of the 4 60-foot lots is vacant, and the 2 other 4 were created by illegal subdivision on this parcel. Discounting these are the vast pre-ordinances of lots would be conforming to exceedingly ordinance. So in other words, you know, a lot of the lots are 60 foot, but they're vacant and they're owned by people who own the house next to them. So they're not all built on lots on Sunset.
But
So they
can I
might-
just ask, so we have to determine that, and what you make is, to me, it makes an interesting point. We denied a 60-foot in whatever that was.
77 and 85.
Okay, 77 and 85, we denied.
Right.
A 60-footer. Now, because we permitted 3 to be built subsequent, does that augur in the applicant's favor? Does that
Well, is it
change?
subsequent? Is that-
Hang on. Does that change the nature and character of the neighborhood? Interesting question.
Is 1982 subsequent? No, because you denied it in 85. So it would just be the 2001 and 2002,
Right.
which would be on Seafield, which was due to a fire
Okay.
and a reconstruction. My other point is that
Hold
in
on
your.
a second, hold on a second. I have a question. Can I talk, please?
Oh, sure.
You stated that the 60-foot lots that are on Sunset are lots that are adjacent to homes that are vacant, they're owned by the people. I'm looking at this map here, and correct me if I'm wrong, but there seems to be roofs on each one of these 60-foot lots that are
Well,
here.
I'm not sure, I'm reading from a 1985 denial.
I understand, but right now. this
So I don't
map-
know which, if you're saying that in 1985, he's saying that they were vacant.
But it's 2021. and
I know,
there's
well,
roofs on every
but you
one
only
of
said
these.
3 houses were built on lots since 1982, 2001, 2002. So I'm not sure where those houses are in what you're talking about.
Just for reference, the board only in 2006 started using a 500-foot analysis. Prior to that, the submission would have been a 200-foot analysis. So
Okay.
he may have been going up and down Sunset from Union Boulevard to Montauk Highway.
I'm not sure. I'm also stating that according to this rejection, that the lot itself that they want to build a home on was an illegal subdivision. And if you read the research on it, it was that he sold his house and kind of wanted to sell the property. It wasn't an illegal subdivision, and that's why it's been rejected all along, because the board felt that it was not necessary to reward somebody who avoided and.
Is that in our prior decisions?
Yes,
What you're saying?
yes, please read them.
So this was an illegal subdivision.
Correct. It's not a
Yes, it
legal
is a legal
subdivision.
So they subdivided the property and then sought the application, it was denied. So.
And then I think one was, I'm not
well,
sure.
The law is pretty clear if you subdivide the property, not you, but you inherit the land or inherit the land. If you subdivide the property, you don't get to reap the benefit of that sale and then claim, I need a variance. That law is pretty clear. I'm directing it at the applicant. That law is pretty clear. It would be inequitable, wouldn't it, to somebody to subdivide it, create an artificially small, and then come in later, and it's a subsequent landowner, I get it, but
Right.
wouldn't that be inequitable than to come and say, oh, look, I need a variance, I'm getting killed?
You know what it is? It's 44 years later. Now it's 2021.
Hey, let her talk, let her talk.
It's 2021. All the lots, they have rules on them. The chairman even showed it. I don't know what the opposition would be to building on that property.
I don't know.
So your answer to the illegal subdivision is that it's 44 years later?
So the illegal subdivision, that is wrong. Yes, that is
Oh,
wrong.
okay, so you dispute that it's illegal?
No, I know it says it I have the case also.
Right.
I read to you also. It was involved in a subdivision, some kind of a, I read.
But
Okay,
hang
so
on,
you-
if it's done illegally, just because of the passage of time, how does that make it okay? If the original act was void or illegal ab initio?
The current owner who purchased it,
We don't go by
Not
that.
aware
If
of
she
it.
steps or he steps into the shoes, you know that. So if it was illegal then, why does the passage of time? It's like if I steal your car 44 years ago, is it okay now for you to keep it?
okay, so if it was not an illegal subdivision, it would be actually, its nature and character of the neighborhood. I don't know why they would.
Why would you say if it's not an illegal subdivision? Establish that it is.
Right, so I'm saying if it wasn't,
Well, if
then
it,
it would be granted. But
Okay.
because the
Okay.
previous owner subdivided it illegally,
thank you.
That's the
We
problem.
understand.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Does anyone else wish to be heard in this application? I think this gentleman was, oh, you go first? Oh,
That's a real term.
Name and address for the record, please.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Paul Wurzbach. I live at 59 Sunset Road, which is the property and the house just directly north of this vacant lot.
could you spell your last name for me, please?
Wernersbach. I bought the home in September of 1972. The owner at that time, the home was built actually in 1927. It sits on a 60/140. The owner of the property sold me that house and that property, but separated the other 60 feet by 140. And I suggested to him at the time of purchase that I would like to buy it for a side yard. He said, what I would do, he says, pay the taxes on this property for the next 3 years.
I'm sorry, is the 60 that was, you wanted to buy, is that the subject piece of property that they want to build on?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I want to use it as my side yard, which it always was. And most of the homes on the 60 buys within the community, and especially on Sunset, were built prior to 1954. Primarily, that street has been developed probably since the early 1920s. So in any event, I He gave me a 3-year option on the property. I paid the taxes. I intended to purchase it. And at the time, 3 years came up. The owner, who now lived in Florida, was approached by a builder, and he was offered more money, which I couldn't meet, and he went to sell the property. It came before your body, because there's only board of appeals. And number one, he illegally, at the time, I didn't know it, but he illegally subdivided it. It was one parcel. And part of the objection was not only did it not meet the side width and other criteria, but it didn't go through the simple procedure at the time of a possible lot width. Over the years, then they allowed it to go to taxes, and the county had owned the property and has owned it for some 49 years or probably something like that. I've been maintaining it along with my neighbor to the south for all these years. I cut the grass, I maintain the shrubs and bushes, etc. I don't want it to look bad. And in the meantime, I've also attempted to purchase it from the county on a direct sale. And many times, they said I had to go to the auction. As most of you know, it's held typically in the grand ballroom. And people are encouraged to do some research on the property before they bid on it. But obviously, that's not the case. I sat there many times and was outbid.
What is the message we send to the community if we grant an illegal subdivision? Go ahead and do an illegal subdivision, and if we wait a couple of years, we'll grant it. What is the message that we send?
I think in this particular case, because there are about 4 or 5 other lots like mine that are adjoining other parcels, because a lot of the lots were built on 20 buys in the old days, so there was 3 20 buys to make a 60, or 4 for an 80, or whatever. And there are also properties with houses just to the north or south of a vacant parcel. If this is granted, it's just going to be filling it in with a bunch of mini mansions and what we don't like to have out here that we have in Nassau Queens. So I'm really disturbed at the opportunity, especially after it's been turned down. And there have been many applications, or if not applications, inquiries over the years after these people have bid and intended to purchase, that the county let them get out of the contract after they did further research and found that the town was against that. So I think that's about it. I appreciate your time, and like I said, I love to buy a lot from the county, but unfortunately it didn't work out. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for your.
Anyone else wish to be heard in this application?
Good evening. My name is Teresa Regnanti, R-E-G-N-A-N-T-E, 55 Sunset Road. So Paul and I, side by side with a lot in between us. We also went to the county 3 times for direct sale, had a real estate. Again, did not want to go to auction to buy a piece of property at $70,000. That was an unbuildable lot. So we have asked, to direct buy and split the lot between both neighbors. We would maintain, get it back on the tax rolls. The county has, all 3 times, I guess there's been a tremendous amount of turnover in the real estate department and Suffolk County government. Just really never been able to move on that ball forward. So, I guess we would ask that you deny the application by basis of, taking 14 feet or 15 foot on each side property would really create for each of us who are adjacent to that property line pretty much a situation where we're very, very tight in that space and create a problem with the also the FAR. I'm assuming that building a house that size, it would have to be an FAR variance as well to get some sort of house character into the neighborhood. As a 2-story, probably 1,200 square dwelling would be the only sizable that could fit in that lot with the current FAR ratio. So thank you very much for your time, and I appreciate it.
Does anyone else wish to be heard in this application?
Good evening, my name is Anthony Gubitosa. I live diagonally west of, or across the street from the vacant property.
Could you just spell your last name, please?
Sure, Gubitosa,
Thank you.
60 Sunset Road, Bay Shore, New York. I live diagonally across the street. I know my neighbors well. I know they tried to buy this property many times. And my concern is there's other lots, or there are other properties. My property is 120 by 150. And there are other properties that is the same. Most of the houses are built on the side. So there would be a lot of opportunity for other people to divide their properties and sell them all. I think it would make the street extremely crowded. One of the things that I'm concerned about is the amount of traffic that goes up and down that street and the amount of cars that are parked on the street. A lot of them, you know, young people living with their parents because of the times, being what they are. It's difficult to walk up and down the street without, you know, winding your way in between parked cars on the side of the street. So I'm concerned about the crowd.
See, your point isn't that this one particular lot's going to create that problem, but the opportunity for subdivision that it would create that.
That's what my concern is.
Right, okay. I understand.
Thank you very much.
Sir, would you like to be heard? Been waiting patiently.
True, gentlemen.
Anthony Cosenza, I live on 54 Seafield Lane, directly behind the lot.
Could you just spell that?
Cosenza. I just have a couple things real quick. I tried to buy the lot in '99 and 2001.
Everybody tried to buy that, right?
No wonder the price.
I was going to put a garage or a swimming pool back there, make my house longer, but I was told I couldn't buy it, so we just stopped. It was too small to buy, to build on. Also, I would request that it should get remeasured, because if you're saying it's 60 feet, that's a 12-inch stretch of a tape measure. It's like 50 now. It's short.
We go by a survey.
I know you do, but when you measure the driveway to driveway, it's 59 feet. I mean, to the bricks. So it's a little short. I know you go by the surveys, but it should be get resurveyed. But that's about it. I just wanted to say I tried to get it, but couldn't get it.
You're against.
What?
Obviously, you're against this application.
Yes,
You're not in favor.
I'm against.
Right, so anyone else wish to be heard this application?
Yeah.
The name is Joe Manta, that's M-A-N-T-O. I'm the neighbor at 54 Sunset, across the street.
We can't hear you, so you're going to speak into the microphone.
Oh, I did. I'm the neighbor across the street at 54 Sunset Road. My concern really is in agreement with all the concerns that we have, that it will change the look of the neighborhood. If there are other lots that are currently unavailable for sale, or unavailable for building because of the current code, if you change this lot, then obviously all those others will be able to petition you to allow them to build. And then when I heard in this meeting that it's an illegal subdivision in the first place, I don't see how there's any other choice but to leave it as it is. As one of the members of the board here said, if something happened illegally before, after 40 years, does that make it legal now? I don't think it does, yes, and I agree fully with that. After hearing that, I don't think there should be any discussion beyond.
Just don't let Mr. Wexler hear you.
That's really all I have to say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Does anyone else wish to be heard this application?
The owners here?
Good evening.
I know you want to buy the property too.
I did. I did.
You did?
I did. We all did, everyone on the block.
Did you actually buy it?
I did not.
Oh.
Okay. My name is Joseph Leone, I reside at 53 Sunset Road. Leone. As stated, if this is granted, why wouldn't anyone else go for a variance on their property sloping down the block?
Can I ask you one question? How come you all didn't chip in together?
We can't buy them.
Oh, they
We
wouldn't
can't
sell
buy
it?
it. I buy it tomorrow. So that's
That's
the
right,
problem
you
we're
have a
having.
community garden, not a pool.
Yeah, could make a park, dog park. But anyway, that's my thoughts on it. You grant this, why shouldn't you grant it to anyone up and down the block?
Sure, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Is there anyone else wish to be heard this application?
The owner is here.
Good evening.
Good evening, name and address for the record.
I'm Nerlene Tordo. I'm the owner of the property.
I apologize for mispronouncing your name.
It's okay.
I'm sorry.
I can see that I'm outnumbered tonight, but all I wanted to do is just build a house. And it's been very difficult going into the property because the neighbor is taking over the property. They store things on it, their cars are parked on it. It's a, part of it is a parking lot. And I can see that they're very territorial on something that I own, and it's very painful. They all seem to be nice people, but I'm also a nice person. I don't think I want to build a multiple dwelling in there. It's just a single house. I'm probably outnumbered in the neighborhood, and I hate to say that. But if you wanted to buy the property, it was in the market for so long.
Ma'am, can I just ask you, who did you buy the property from?
From another black lady that owned it. She couldn't be a builder either. So I didn't even know there was issues. I had no idea. She just told me she couldn't build it. She didn't have the money. And it was listed for a long time. And I wish I had the listing and to show you how long this property was sitting there.
You see our dilemma.
I understand your dilemma, but you know, people are very rude and they're very, very mean.
I know, but
it just
ma'am,
hurt my heart to see something like that.
Ma'am, we understand how you feel, and those are your feelings, you're entitled to them. We have to look at the law of zoning. And we have to look at the law of zoning. If we let personalities get into it, then we're going to make decisions based on, we like this person, we don't like that person.
I understand
And we
that.
strive, we don't do that. So
I understand
we
that.
have to look at the provenance of this property. How did it become the way it did? And it became as a result of an illegal subdivision.
But you know what? There are so many other property in the same block, same size. And
But
we're
they
not
didn't get-
talking about something way out of the ordinary. There are lots that are even smaller than that lot. And that's what really attracted me to it. I'm looking at it and I said, well, there's a lot of houses that are built in the same size. How is it illegal? I don't understand, because then the other houses are illegal also.
Because the person who owned the property subdivided
Subdivided,
and
yes.
didn't get approval. That's an illegal subdivision.
Well, that wasn't knowledge to me. I didn't know that. And also the person next door also could have purchased the property. They could have done that. They want to use the property as their own, and they don't want to purchase it. That's really what it's all about. They want to use it, but they don't want to pay for it. It was on sale. Everybody knew the property was for sale. Purchase it, buy it. You know, it's a very, very bad way of treating a neighbor. And
No, but
just
that-
because you want to have a yard, a
That's
bigger
fair,
yard, and then
ma'am.
you don't want me
Can I
in
say
there.
one thing? That is not going to affect, that's not going to affect, wait.
I understand
Ma'am,
that.
can I
It
finish?
hurts me. I'm so sorry. I'm being emotional.
Okay, you're
Because
allowed
this
to.
is not right.
But what the neighbors, whatever your feelings are, that has no effect
I
on
understand
us.
that, sir.
We're going to follow the law. And unfortunately, the law augurs against your application. The law, not the neighbors, not people's feelings.
I really
the law.
believe, sir, with all due respect,
Sure.
I believe the fact that they don't want anything else to come in the neighborhood. That's why they came to that, to tell you that they don't want you to approve my lot, because they don't want anybody else coming in. They don't want the neighbors, they don't want the people, they don't want the crowd, they don't want
That's
me.
not the point. The point is that it was illegally subdivided.
And
they
I
have to follow
understand
the
that,
law.
it's easy for you to say,
But
but it's not easy.
we can,
No, I
what we can
understand.
do, ma'am, is what we do here in the zoning board is we
All right,
we
I
call it a reserved decision. We look at all the arguments and all of the information. And then we make a decision. We have 60 days to do so.
Reserve decision?
So if no one else, does anyone else like to be heard in this application?
The point is that, legally subdivided. You didn't know. You didn't know, right? You didn't know.
So ma'am, if you could step aside. so
Yes, just step aside a second.
We understand the issue.
My name is Linda Manto. I live at 54 Sunset across the street. I just want to comment on.
Please don't. Please don't.
no.
Speak to the merits of the application.
All right,
Don't
I just want to
respond.
say, we've never seen her.
We are nice people. There's not a reason that we would
Ma'am, you
be
can be
unhappy.
nice. Ma'am, please.
I'm just saying, she had her say.
No, and we told her that it didn't matter too.
You can have your say, and you just have to speak on the merits of the application. Appreciate it. Does anyone else wish to be on this application?
Okay, so in closing, we now know more information than we knew before coming in here. Based on what they said, we might have the opportunity to buy the property now.
Okay.
We'll sell it.
All right, so.
You get 62 days to sell it.
Well, if they all want to chip in and buy it.
So if no one else would like to be heard.
I think there's nice people here. I think everybody's nice, and you know, I love you guys. It's, I guess my case tonight was just to show you nature and character of the neighborhood, and then we did know that it was, I knew that from, the hearing, that it was something illegally done in 1970 something. And I did mention 44 years later, because things have changed, 20, everything, you never know what people are granting these days.
We appreciate it.
So, I mean, I
You've done a
respect
very
the
good
board.
job.
Yeah,
Thank you, I respect you guys, and I never want to bring anything to the board that's crazy, you know?
You tell you if you thought it was great.
If no one else wishes to be heard, I make a motion to reserve this decision.
Second.
We have 62 days by law to render a decision. Coming now, we'll do our best to go straight to the end.
Next application number 492-21, Vincent Arbucci, permission to erect attached garage, 25 feet by 25 feet, leaving a front yard lot of 21.8 feet instead of required 50 feet, side yard 5 feet instead of required 10 feet, and height of 16 feet instead of permitted 14 feet. Residence AA District, Southside Woodlawn Avenue, number 22, 362.35 feet east of Connecticut Avenue, through lot 2. Mansion Avenue, Oakdale, New York. Sir, your name and address for the record, please.
Richard Bronchick, Bronchick, address 87 Rodin Avenue, North Babylon, 11703.
How are you tonight, sir?
I'm fine, how are you?
You have to recuse this one? We gotta wait, we have to wait.
Should we wait?
We have to, Mr. Sullivan has to recuse himself on this application, so Mr. Wexler just hit the bedroom, he'll be back here.
Oh, he didn't accuse himself, he took a break for a second.
You can just hang out for a few moments.
Yeah, no,
Mr. Wexler gets back.
you said he recused himself.
No, he recused himself, Mr. Sullivan, I did. Oh, that's application. So just give a few moments and Mr. Wexler will come back and put the next one.
The next two, are going to be, the next one is actually two applications back to back. We're going to talk about some subdivision issues on that one as well.
Okay, sir, if you step down, we're going to call some other applications while we're waiting. Be a little more efficient use of our time. The next application we're going to call is number 496-21, Ann Khan, to renew permit for accessory apartment pursuant to Islip County Code Section 68, 616, Residence A District, west side of Ferris Avenue, number 70. Okay. All right. So then for all of the following 496 on our agenda, I would make a motion that we grant the applications for a period of 3 years.
Second. Second.
Aye.
All in favor? Aye.
All right, thank you. So that's it. No, but that gets you down to 4 pages. So. We're going to take a 5-minute adjournment. Thank you.
Yes, somehow, yeah, Joanne, somehow. You know, it's funny, I showed you printing today. I made sure that, you know, but then for some reason, I don't know how she does this. Right, oh no, she made that this way, that she, that's why they just started reading, because it's right here, it's supposed to say public session. So she needs that. Because Eric hasn't done this yet for us, so I don't even know how she does it. But that's to let me know, I'm starting to Zoom. And it's calm, cool.
What now?
I said you're calm, cool, and collected.
Yeah, yeah. All right, we're going to continue now with the application of Vincent Arbucci. Sir, please. I apologize.
That's okay, that's okay. Could I submit,
Anything you like.
2 letters from neighbors and some photos of the property? We're on 419 Teshler.
Vincent Arbucci, yes.
So apparently there's been a code amendment and your through lot setback is actually better than it seems in the call meeting. Apparently, the current through lot setback requirement is 35 feet, not 50 as stated in the call meeting.
Oh, okay.
Look at that.
We
Just
still need
picked up-
variance, huh?
Just picked up a bunch on your
There it
variance.
is. I'll take it.
It's your lucky night.
I would have said that before the last hearing, but, anyway, tell me when you're ready. We're ready, sir. Go ahead. Okay, thank you. Good, first of all, good evening. And as if you recall, that we're asking for 3 variances. We have the through lot now, which is now, we have 21.8 instead of 35, I guess how it is. And the side yard of 5 feet instead of 10, and the height of 16 instead of 14, proposed structure. And we're looking to erect a garage, mostly for storage, tools, household items, bikes, but also for a classic car, a 68 Dodge truck. And the proposed location is to maximize the use of the yard. He also has a small child, so they want to be able to use most of it where they can see from the house, and not have the garage up close and have the child go in the back. The height, the extra height is required for a lift, so he can work on the car. We appreciate that. We hear that all the time. Okay. The problem is, the code says 14, and we do not vary from that 14-foot height, unless you have some precedent in the area that has other dwellings that were, other detached structures that approved by this board at 16, which I don't know of any. So that's the issue that we have with 16 feet.
That, and I understand that, and we understand that, the owner and I understand that. All I can do is give you the reason for it, and tell you why we think it might not be an issue in this particular case. We have, if you look at the photos, you see it's a very heavily wooded area. So the neighbor on the side can't see it, the neighbor in the back can't see it, or on the other side. It's set back far enough so you can't really see it from the street, we realize how high it is. So we don't think it's an issue from that way. Also, the distance, even in the back with the through street, Mansion Avenue, in this case regarding both
both variances, the front, second front yard in the back, and also the height. That it's a closed road, obviously it's not being used, and it gives us an extra 50 feet in the back for the neighbor in the rear. So as a practical, I understand what you're saying from the board's point of view for the most part. In this case, though, I don't think it's really an issue as far as a practical matter with the neighbors. But it's a code issue. Okay, 14 feet. I'm not gonna argue with that. I'm asking for 16. I'm not gonna argue with that. I can only tell you what the situation is here, why we want to do it, and why we think it isn't really an issue.
What about the 5 feet?
The 5 feet? Yeah, 5 feet. Again, we're just trying to maximize the use of the yard.
But the code says if you were under, I think 500, right?
Right.
You would not need, you do not need 10, you need 4.
You're right.
over.
He wants the extra space for storage and to put the car.
What about his neighbors?
Excuse me?
What about his neighbor?
The neighbor says it's okay with it.
This neighbor may say it's okay, the next neighbor may not. I mean, that's a heck of an imposition, just because you want to maximize the backyard for an extra 4 feet.
I understand what you're saying, but if you look at the photos, there's so much foliage there and trees that the neighbor can't see.
Yeah, but foliage dies,
Yeah, and
trees
if
get
we-
cut down.
If we give that to your
It's a
client,
glum
we'd
outlook.
have.
That's right, it's a glum outlook.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not sure what you said.
So,
Okay.
sir, I think, in my opinion, and we'll take a vote on this, but in my opinion, I think the brew lot is the least of the issue on this application. I think that if a detached structure this size would have to be 10 feet, and it would have to be 14 feet in height. I don't believe we've ever varied. I'm going to ask David from planning if we have any precedent in the area for height or side yard on this structure. We have some parameters we have to follow, and your argument's great. I understand what you're saying. I love cars too, but if we gave it to your client, we'd have to give it to everyone in the neighborhood, which we can't do. And we see these a lot, and we deny them a lot because of the height and the size. So code says 10 feet for the side and the height of 14. That's all it is.
Okay, and the rear or second front yard variance?
I don't think, we're gonna take a vote on that. I don't have an Deirdre from planning yet an issue with the, no objections. So that's the easiest part of this application,
Okay.
in my opinion. The other more difficult scenario is the side and the height.
What can we say? All we can do is ask. And
Sure.
the board's gonna make a
Appreciate your
decision
time.
and explain why. And
Appreciate your time, you're a gentleman. I just,
And you can.
where we're at.
any other questions?
Right, are you willing to take the 10-foot and the 14-foot high or no?
Well, I mean, do we have?
You don't have a choice.
We don't have a choice.
He's just very, very accommodating.
He's just so polite.
So-
We
We'll
have
have to,
the most
well,
polite
as a
chairman
practical
in the
matter, we have to
business.
make a decision as to.
We're gonna make a decision right now.
No.
We're gonna make a decision, I get an idea.
It's, if they want to keep this, or
We're
make
gonna
changes
make
to
a
the plan.
decision for the 10-foot and the 14-foot, and believe when we take a vote, and if you decide to go for it and build it, then that's great. If you don't, then it's okay. Okay? Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any further questions? Mr. Wexler, take a motion.
Well, we haven't amended the 50.
You want to make an amendment?
Yeah.
First, I'm going to back up a second. I'd like to make a motion to amend, to call it a meeting, to state through lot of 21.8 feet instead of required 35 feet. Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Now, I'll take a motion from Mr. Wexler.
Denying the applicant. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to make a motion that we deny so much of the deny the application, however, grant so much of the application, granting the permission to erect the garage at 10 feet and a height of 14.
And 21.8 instead of 35.
21.8 instead of 35, and also, and that's the only part of the application we're going to grant.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, sir. Have a great night.
Clear as mud.
Next application, number 493-21, Cadmium Holdings LLC. Permission to erect a two-story dwelling on a lot having width of 61.63 feet instead of the required 100 feet, and a lot area of 15,957 square feet instead of the required 20,000 square feet. Residence Double A District, north side of Lexington Avenue, A, 1,571.3 feet west of Fulton Street, Brentwood. Is there anyone here for the applicant? Name and address for the record, please.
My name is John Gleason, architect, state of New York, 336 6th Avenue, St. James, New York, 11780. I'm here to represent Cadmium Holdings and also addition to the next case as well.
Okay, so sir, if you don't have any objection, we'll call the second one as well. That way you can be more efficient.
Thank you.
We're going to hear then, Mr. Chairman, the next application also, number 494-21, HEM Development 2 Corp. Permission to erect a two-story dwelling on a lot having a width of 63.55 feet instead of required 100 feet throughout. Lot area of 13,097.72 square feet instead of the required 20,000 square feet. Leaving side yards of 14.5 feet and 16 feet, 4 egress windows, leaving side yards of 13 feet and 12 feet, and cellar entrance, leaving side yard of 14.1 feet instead of the required 18 feet each, and total side yards of 25 feet instead of the required 36 feet. Residence Double A District, north side of Lexington Avenue, number 1, 1,500 feet west of Fulton Street, Brentwood, New York. Again, sir, but just for the record, you're here.
Yes, I'm here. My name is John Gleason, architect. I'm here representing HEM Development 2 Corp. for case number 494-21. I'm at 336 6th Avenue, St. James, New York, 11780. These are two lots, one Lexington, 1A Lexington. 1A Lexington, they both had individual houses on them. I submitted to the BZA this morning. I know that nobody had a chance to review it, or attorneys or anybody at the town. Did a chain of title and search for the variance for tonight. The house that is currently there is number 1 Lexington Avenue. It's a one-family house. There was a house also on 1A. That house has been demolished.
Are you building the same size house
Yes,
on both pieces of property?
on both properties. They're going to be mirrored on the same.
Ms. Ryan, can you show us the parcels on the area, please?
So that's a 2016 aerial, which is why both homes show.
Okay, and
Yeah,
you wanted to build the exact same thing, the footprint in the exact same locations, or no?
No,
Okay,
those
so
houses,
what-
one house, the one on the left is demolished. It's no longer there. The one on the right is.
You want to build on both, right?
Correct, yes.
Okay, so
Two
what would the
houses.
improvement be for what you're proposing over what was there in 2016?
What are we proposing? We're proposing a two-story frame residence.
Why is that better than what was there in 2016? That's my question.
What now is there is nothing. It's in context with the neighborhood, the two-story house, as you can see on this area, which is pretty nice.
Why wouldn't we let you build what was there before and keep it at that rather than enlarging it?
Well, we're here to, that's why my application is here, that's why we're in front of the board, to ask permission to build, our FAR meets the zoning of AA. And we are here to ask for variances like everybody else is.
I understand that.
And that's why we have the application.
We wouldn't have a job. What is
Well, I
it
guess so.
keeping, is it in keeping with the nature and character of the neighborhood? And if so, explain, tell me about the neighborhood.
The neighborhood's all single-family homes. This is part of the Motor Parkway acreage from 1929. The area joining to the west is a later subdivision, a little larger lots, more, I guess, newer homes. There's a mix of character in the neighborhood on Lexington and the other adjoining streets north and south that have, one-family house, mixed, two-story and one-story houses.
You assume they're all one-family homes. My question is, can you tell us how many two-story homes and how many 60-footers are there? That's like critical, how many 60-footers are
That I do not have that information, 60 footers. I mean, this is what the lot was,
We appreciate your candor.
Thank you.
well, yeah, I mean, I didn't do that. I can actually come
If you
back
don't know,
and
you
do
don't
an
know, it's
inventory.
okay.
Yeah, I'm not gonna just
It's not a
make up
test.
stuff. Yeah, I mean, most of the lots are 100 by 200 in the acreage, in the Motor Parkway acreage. These are just leftover lots because of the way the cut line of this westerly boundary,
We'll do is
the
we'll
leftover.
ask Deidre from planning
Yes.
to let us know, is this in keeping with the nature and character or not?
Deidre.
Deidre?
In a way, because these houses have been there since, I think, about predating code. The houses were CO'd, the houses that were on the property, not the ones in Springfield, were CO'd in 1960. So they kind of started the whole neighborhood and they're part of the subdivision that allowed them to be there.
There was one story.
Right. So I'm just saying that there's houses. There was a one-story, I believe it was one story that was, oh no, sorry. This board did grant a two-story dwelling on 1A Lexington Avenue. Not exactly the same, I think Lexington 1A is asking for width of 61.63 with an area of 15,957. Previously was granted having a width of 61.93, lot area of 16,000.
But if, I don't mean to interrupt you, but do we go down a road we don't want to go if property owners demolish the house and then say, oh, I want more than what was there? Does that cause us concern when we say, no, we'll let you build what you have, but does that encourage people to demolish houses and then say, oh, I want more?
I think it can, but I think in this case, because the houses were predating and they've kind of been there and
But
it
much
doesn't
smaller.
seem like, well, he's still within the FAR.
Okay.
So I think that should be also pointed out. I think the FAR, he's proposing is 24% on one property and the other one 19.9%. So I think that you're not going to be judging the houses.
So what you're saying is you're not in opposition of.
No, the only thing you think is that, for one Lexington, I would like for maybe the side yards to be both 16 feet, just to get a little bit closer to the required side yards for the area. Also, just to point out, the 63.55 and 61.63 are also the smallest points of the lots. They do get bigger. 1A gets up to 94.28. Well, one Lexington doesn't get that much bigger, but 71.8.
Yeah, like 5 property lines, different lines, trackers with shape and perfect.
I can't hear you, sir, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's not a perfect, just like, you pointed out, it's not a perfect rectangle. It's got some angles, especially, number 1.
So the history of this lot is, as you said, it did appear on the map of Motor Parkway acreage, but it was one lot. It was lot 59, right? And it was probably oversized because of the weird shape of the lot.
Correct.
But then somehow, oddly enough, in 1960, 2 houses appeared on the same CO on the property. One
Yes.
and one in.
Yes.
Subdivision there?
Well, in 1995,
Funny, I should ask.
a minor subdivision application was filed to the planning department.
Who from the planning, was the planning department representative on that application?
It was Mary Pizarro.
And what did Ms. Pizarro do with that?
She said this action will retroactively correct a subdivision done without town approval. I'd say that a little differently now. Zoning Board of Appeals approval requires lot width, lot area, and side yard variances for each parcel. So, not that I remember 1995, I'm not going to pretend I do, but in researching the documents, an attorney brought the case to us, and he was trying to subdivide, split those 2 houses that were on the same CO since 1960.
So was it subdivided?
So the subdivision was, it was approved for subdivision. The deeds were already separate. Thank you for bringing in the chain of title this morning. I think we asked for you quite some time ago. And you
No, I
were-
never got a written request for change title, honestly.
I'm sorry, you never got a written
No.
request, but you got a verbal request
No, I
several
didn't,
times.
no.
You didn't get a verbal request
No,
for
ma'am.
it? Oh,
Who made the verbal request?
Austin Sorolla of my office.
Well, I didn't get a,
So I scheduled it anyway because you didn't want to believe that it would be something that would be important to the board. So, which is why we put them back to back. So we
right,
could have this
yes, and
discussion.
yes, correct, yeah, we had the conversation, right.
It's a good discussion.
So again, there was never a legal subdivision, correct?
Well, it was, like I said, it was to correct what had already, it had already been apportioned into 59-1 and 59-2, which, as you know,
Apportionment is not subdivision.
correct.
So there's never been a legal subdivision.
So then, as Deirdre pointed out, 4 or 5 years ago, we did hear an application presented by Joe Gazelle to build on one of the lots.
Okay.
And he presented the subdivision history for the board's application. And the board did approve one of the 2 parcels.
Oh.
Do you have any idea why it didn't get built? Are you running into health department problems?
We have a health department subdivision, I believe, I haven't gotten to talk to Stephen Churchill in person to get the FOIL documents.
I still don't understand if there was a legal
Yeah.
subdivision or not.
And
Yes
if
or
it
no?
wasn't, how do we, I mean, if
Well, the
there
chain of
wasn't.
title got delivered this morning, so.
Yeah,
So we don't know. Why
that's
do we need
true.
to
And
reserve
I
a
did-
single-
and I did mention that nobody had a chance to review it, you know, for town attorney or the
Well, that
department.
doesn't help us now.
I
That's
know.
fine. We need to reserve and take a look.
So
Okay.
why don't we see if anyone wants to hear this application, and then take a look. Let's go back and forth.
And you said you think you have a health department approval?
No, I made a filing at the health department, and I can show you some documents.
Do I sound mean?
Yeah,
It's just-
you kind of do, but that's okay.
I'm sorry.
Um,
I think we need to preliminarily determine whether or not it was a legal or an illegal subdivision before we go to point B. It's a
Yeah,
legal
that's-
subdivision.
Okay, we could, that,
That's for us to do, the we was us.
Right, so how about, if no one, does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any further questions? We're going to make a motion to reserve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We have 62 days, we'll review this thing, the start to be sent in today. We'll review the test, if it's subdivided properly or not.
Okay.
And then we can make a decision at that point today.
An informed decision.
yeah, one decision where, like, go back to
I can't hear you, sir, I'm sorry.
legalize a subdivision or do a subdivision, whatever the term is.
We can't legalize it.
I know, I understand.
We're just going to determine whether it was done properly or not.
I'll be honest, I didn't have that information,
Yeah.
necessarily, so let me,
Thank you so much.
Thank you for your time, and we have 62 days by law, as you know. We'll try and go as quickly as possible.
I was just going to suggest it.
Do we want to do a, story?
No, we have one more.
All right, so you got 60 days, we'll be in touch as soon as we possibly can.
Okay.
All right? Thanks, sir. Have a great night.
All right, next application, Mr. Chairman, is number 495-21, Central Avenue, Corner Lot Development LLC, permission to erect a one-story industrial building with a mezzanine on a lot having widths of 94.04 feet and 97.65 feet, instead of the required 100 feet throughout, leaving side yards of 5.15 feet instead of the required 10 feet, front yard 45.5 feet instead of the required 50 feet, to install an 8-foot fence instead of a permitted 6 feet, to install 6-foot fence, leaving a front yard of 1.25 feet instead of the required 15 feet, and second front yard of 4 feet instead of the required 10 feet, 6-foot fence within driveway site distance triangle instead of permitted 3 feet, and to install a retaining wall 18 inches high, leaving a side yard of 2 feet from the front yard and front yard of 3 feet instead of the required 4 feet each. Industrial 1 District, northwest corner of Central Avenue, number 3 in Joshua's Path, Hauppauge, New York. Sir, your name and address, please.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Mark Owen from R&W Engineers and represent the applicant, Michael Genosa, who's also with us here tonight.
Could you just spell your last name for me?
Owen, O-W-E-N.
Oh,
Sorry if I pronounced it. So Mr. Genosa is proposing to construct a 7,400 square foot industrial warehouse building on the corner of Joshua's Path and Central Avenue in Hauppauge.
What's there now?
Right now is a vacant lot. It's a dirt blighted lot with the Jersey barrier surrounding it.
And sir, just so you know, I don't think we have ever granted a variance in that site distance triangle. So
Okay.
perhaps you want to regroup on that.
Well, I think the variances proposed are not very significant as far as what we're seeking. It's simply fencing and retaining wall setbacks, which are more common than some extreme variances of
Well,
some
and the
people
fence,
see.
so you have a 6-foot fence of 1.25 feet instead of the required 15 feet, I call that substantial, right?
Well, yes, now, like something like that, if we were able to possibly push that back a bit, obviously that is, the fencing locations and the wall locations are results of trying to meet parking requirements.
But the fencing doesn't have to be that high, and then you don't have the same setback.
Understood.
Why do you need 8 foot instead of 6 foot?
The 8-foot, proposed 8-foot fencing, the rear yard is mainly for security concerns as well as privacy concerns for both the applicant and the neighbors. There's a restaurant parking lot next door that would.
You need privacy for a restaurant parking lot?
Well, it would block view from the patrons of the restaurant from seeing any commercial vehicle that's on the property.
I don't,
I'm not following that.
I don't think we go above the 6 foot. Am I wrong?
I don't remember.
I don't ever remember.
Maybe Ms. Ryan can educate us.
Ms. Ryan.
There's actually there's one grant in 09 allowing a 6-foot, 8-foot, having 5-foot setback, but it's not necessarily, it's kind of weird, I don't know if it's necessarily allowing the 8-foot fence.
So we don't have a 5-foot setback here, right?
No.
Yeah, the 1.25 setback, when it's required 15, it's just not going to cut it.
Right, now, let's say if we were able to push that fence to the top of the proposed retaining wall and get a 4 or 5 foot setback for that fence, is that something the board would consider?
No. Maybe you want to take a breath, take an adjournment, speak with Deidre, because you're kind of throwing things at us, and every time you make one change, it's going to make other changes. And we'll be here all night, and it's not going to help you.
Right.
So you know where we're headed. It's like no to the 1.25, no to the site triangle, and any other definite no's, or is that? No to the 8-foot fence?
No, everything else, I think is palatable.
Yeah.
Me, personally.
So, anything else, Mary, that you?
Well, the rear yard request, is it rear of 5 instead of the required 10? We didn't even get into that at all, and that's probably an issue that you might want to discuss a little bit.
So now that you know our parameters, go back and you can address it with your architect, engineer, and planning, and I think you'll have a much better proposal.
Okay, I, just in considering, I know you mentioned the site triangles, the applicant was looking to create an enclosed gate at the front of the yard, if you were able to push it outside.
If it violates the site triangle, we're going to say no.
Okay,
This way you know where we're coming from.
right, no, understood,
Except
understood.
for the house.
So as far as the rear yard setback, I mean, I think it would be best if you are sending the applicant away to need planning.
We're not sending to Siberia.
No, to need planning. The rear yard setback of 5 feet. You have a prior approval, right, for a 0?
So there's a prior approval on the property, I believe, for a 5-foot setback. It was denied at a 0. The building adjoining the property is a 0-foot setback. So I believe there was a prior approval of building permit granted for a 5-foot setback. I'm not 100% on that. However, the research I've done, I believe that that's correct.
Okay.
You know, as far as fencing the entire property, I own the property, intend to hopefully build a building here. As far as fencing the property, obviously, I'm a realistic person. It seems like that's out. So if we're okay with removing the fencing variances that I have currently requested, I would like to proceed forward with at least the 5-foot setback that we made through the application.
Sure.
That's something I would like to proceed forward.
Very wise decision.
So you're gonna
you're gonna comply with the fence in the back, in the rear?
So we'll bring it down to 6 feet.
Correct. They're gonna
From the
withdraw
6
their
foot fence.
request for fencing variances, right?
Yes. And then as far as the gate in the front, I'm trying to make it work.
Other than that, it's scrap.
Yes, I'll scrap the site triangle fence, unless we can make that comply.
So then I'll make a motion, Mr. Chairman, that we amend the call of the meeting to remove the requests for variance relief for the fences.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye. So what's the only other issue? Is it the 5 instead of 10?
94, 97 instead of 100.
Right.
Yeah. And they already have a permit at 5. So I don't think that's an issue.
No, I mean, it looks like it's otherwise grantable.
Yep. Yep, I agree.
Pedro, anything else from,
No.
I think the only other item, aside from fencing, was the 45.5 setback instead of 50. That was strictly for an awning, it's not a
That's
permanent structure.
4.5.
Thank you.
sorry, you said that?
Otherwise, no.
Does anyone wish to be heard in this application? Does the board have any further questions? Mr. Messina, I'll take it.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we grant the application as amended.
Aye, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Have a great
Great
evening.
night, good luck. We haven't pulled that second call, that's all right.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
it's into
I don't
that,
think-
never sure.
Somehow we can get it. They go, okay, I assess the situation. Outrageous.
So we're done? Are we done?
Just a few more minutes, I just read these 4 cases.
How would you read it?
Do we put this on live stream?
Yes, we must.
Okay. You gotta do some readings?
We are.
Not really. Sarah, go ahead.
Sasha?
I'll do the foliage.
I'm ready, I was just asking who's doing the foliage.
I'll do the foliage.
I'll do it. I think, okay.
Oh, that's what I changed it. Oh, I did change it. Right,
Change it
so
to
you
me.
did? I changed it
That's
to.
fine.
Messina,
Doesn't matter.
Mr. Messina, you do the, change it. All right.
Go ahead, Mr. Sarah. Fire away.
Application number 199-21, Raul Garcia Rivera and Orlina Garcia Delgado. In accordance with proposed written decision dated August 10, 2021, the application is denied. On motion of
Motion.
Second. All in favor?
application number 288-21, Kelly Hoffman. In accordance with the proposed written decision dated August 10, 2021, the application is denied as to height. Remainder of the application granted. On motion of
Second.
All in favor?
application number 316-21, Anders Brunel. In accordance with the proposed written decision dated August 10, 2021, the application is denied. On motion of
Motion.
Second. All in favor?
application number 339-21, Robert Fleiger and Joanne Surratt-Kim. In accordance with the proposed written decision dated August 10, 2021, the application is granted. On motion of
Motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
thank you, everyone.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Lee.
Are we on next
We
week?
shut down. We're now.
Did I sound mean?
Not
No, we're on.
Next week, we have the West.
Yeah, yeah.
I will